actually share in our panelists who brings like years and years of experiences, years and years of wisdom, and years and years of moving through this business that we call entertainment. Well, ladies, here we do sit. Thank you once again for joining us, and we're looking forward to all that you have to give. First of all, I'd like for you guys to just introduce yourselves to the audience and let them know a little bit about yourself. Oh. You can start down there. She said you can start.
Since I came in first, I don't want to be pushy, so I'll let you start down there.
I get you. Hi, I'm Deidrie Henry. I moved to LA about 15 years ago. Wow. I have been in the business for about both stage and film 30-something 30-something years. Grew up in Atlanta, and I am really thrilled to be here. You probably will know me more from being the Popeye spokesperson. That's who I am. The Popeye spokesperson, the spokeslady for Popeye.
I didn't even know.
I don't.
I guess I'll get some free chicken. All right.
I never lead with that. So yeah.
Hi, I'm Cheryl Francis Harrington, and I'm from New York. I grew up in Harlem. I did go to the High School of Performing Arts, the original FAME, and I came out here June 14th, 1980. It was the day after my birthday. I got my union card in the 1970, I think 3 or 4, something like that. And I am what you call a rank and file. I proudly call myself a rank and file actor. I'll tell you more about that as we go along.
Hi, I'm Lavelle Roby, and I've been in the business over 50 years. And I guess I can't lie about my age anymore.
51.
Well, I used to say I was like 55, and then then I can no longer say I've been in the business over 50 years, because then I would have to say I started when I was a baby. My first TV show was the old Get Smart show. Wow. And here's Lucy. So I'm truly a pioneer in the business. So I'm still here. I'm still kicking, as my mother would say, high. Not as high as I used to be, but I'm still kicking.
Thank you. My name is Délé Ogundiran. I was born and raised in Brooklyn, New York. My family's from Nigeria. Shout outs to the immigrants in the house. Came to LA 15 years ago. This is my 20th year in the union. In all the unions, actually. I joined all the unions in 1999. Done some TV, done some film, commercials. And you'll hear more as we go on the rest of the evening.
Hi, my name is Joyce Guy, and even though I was born in Montgomery, Alabama, I'm an Air Force brat, and so I was raised in Japan and Taiwan and Texas and Florida and Kansas and Delaware, every 3 years. And I moved to Los Angeles November of 1987, so I don't even want to count how many years that's been. Huh? Okay, 32. I went to Hampton University in Virginia. I do TV, film, theater. I directed a short documentary I am a dancer. I've been studying African dance for the last years, lots of years, and as we say, I'm still here.
Hi, everybody. My name is Cleo King. I'm very grateful to be here with all these beautiful ladies on this stage tonight. I'm from St. Louis, Missouri, and it's always go ahead and applaud. It's always a joy to be on a panel, but particularly with all of these beautiful women. So I'm very grateful to be here. I went to Mizzou. I was a theater major. Then I moved to New York for 10 years, and then I came out here in 1995. So I've been 35 years in the business professionally, and of course I acted before that, but professionally that. I think I got my first series regular in 2002, maybe, 2002 or 2003, a show called The Brotherhood of Poland, New Hampshire. It was David E. Kelly, and I was working with Randy Quaid. We were both cops, and we rode in the car together. Mike and Molly, CBS, I play the grandma on there to the cop, and we did that for 6 years, and gratefully we're in syndication, so I'm grateful for that. I'm in the movie Pineapple Express, The Hangover, Transformers 4, just a little bit, and then the small screen, Sheldon, Shameless, Mom, NCIS, CSI, Monk, okay, 35 years. So I'm grateful to be here. It's always exciting to talk about work, especially when you love what you do. I did theater and dance, so I'm a triple threat. So I can't dance like I used to, but I can sing. You know, I have to be careful because when people hear me sing, that's all they want. And I'm an actor. That's what I am. I'm an actor who sings, who happen to sing. And I love what I do, so I'm very grateful to be here tonight.
Thank you, ladies. So we might as well get this party started. Are you ready?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah, because we intend to be spirited up in here.
Good.
Okay? All righty. So the first thing I'd like to know from each of you wonderful ladies is, why did you agree to be on this panel?
Well, I haven't been.
You called and
You
asked.
called us on the phone.
Yeah.
Other than that.
Yeah, no, I haven't been asked to be on a panel. I was actually quite honored. And then knowing Barbara, if she asks you, she'll ask you several times until you say yes. So just say yes at the beginning. So sometimes that's all it takes.
I
And
love the
also,
conversation.
I like to be really truthful about what my experience has been as an actor, as an African-American woman, and as an African-American woman, dark-skinned, dark-hued, whatever you want to call it, black. I grew up in the 60s, and so Black Panther and all that was all part of my life, and I grew up in Harlem, so I have no problem with who I am, having a big butt, and all that.
I love to be a part of something talking about, being able to talk about my career. I love that. I mean, there's nothing more I like to talk about because I ran an open mic, Cleo King's open mic, because there were so many young people who always wanted to talk to me about what it is that I do. And I can remember when I started out in New York, when I moved to New York in '85, we would hear people who would go in and audition before us. And we wanted to know, well, who booked the job? And it was all singing then. It was all musicals. And we would say, who booked the job? And then we'd go down to Don't Tell Mama and hear that person sing. Well, I didn't know what to do because I didn't even want to sing. I just wanted to act. But the acting jobs were so few and far in between that I started to listen to people's audition, and then I started doing what they did. So when I started the open mic, it was my way of giving the young people a platform because I had been in the business for so long, and people thought I did it to be a comedian, but I just wanted them to see the older performers and then them to have a place to get up and do 3 minutes. So whenever we can talk about our experiences after all these years, this is a lot of years up here, I want to be a part of it.
And I'll just add, I mean, even though I'm kidding, that's like Barbara called me and called me and called me. But, I think sometimes being in Los Angeles and being in this industry, sometimes we feel like we're isolated and we're by ourselves. And it's good to have these forums where we can talk and talk about our experiences, but as Black women, you know, that we can talk to each other about, I mean, not in a, you know, excuse my language, a bitch session, you know, but just to talk about, you know, what we need to do to move forward and how we can navigate ourselves, you know, in this industry, because it's not easy. This is, you know, really, really hard. And so it's about sustaining the work and to keep on working. It's not, okay, I want to be a star, but no, it's, you know, it's sustaining that work and moving forward, and, you know, and then you can get your pension and health and, you know, keep it moving.
But I do want to be a star.
Oh, you know, we all
We
are
all
steady.
do.
I'm ready. I've been ready.
And for me, it was, you know, I actually have been asking, praying for an opportunity to speak, for an opportunity, because it's in the zeitgeist. It's now, you know, everybody's race and how we navigate this world and our presence in it and how we feel about it is now being heard, maybe. It's being listened to. First of all, it's being asked about, because, you know, normally we're incredibly gifted in navigating the world unseen, and I had an opportunity the last couple of years to play Billie Holiday in Lady Day at Emerson's Bar and Grill, and that was an amazing experience in how to be comfortable with the discomfort. And speaking about race is very uncomfortable. And to be able to do that in an arena where I know that there is support and that there is understanding makes it easier for me to navigate the world out there and to be able to stand in my truth. So that's why I said yes.
Did everybody have an opportunity?
Well, when Barbara first asked me, I was totally confused about what she was asking me to do, and so I said, I don't think I belong there, and she said, okay. And then she called me back. She said, no, you belong there, and I said, okay, because when she first asked me about it, she spoke about being a dark-skinned actor. And I said, oh. And she spoke to me about a broadcaster. And I said, I'm neither really dark-skinned and I'm not a broadcaster. So I don't belong there. And then she said, she called me back later. She said, I think I misled you. And she said, I want you to talk about your experience. And I said, oh, okay, I can talk about my experience because I've had a lot of experience. And so therefore I can be a part of the panel. And all of the things that I've gone through and the different changes. There have been a lot of changes in these over 50 years. Because when I first started, I was early in the game. And I remember some of the first auditions that I went out on, and, you know, and they looked at me and they think, well, I suppose I can put some dark makeup on you. And it's like, what? You know, and I wasn't urban enough looking, and I didn't sound right for them, you know. I didn't have I didn't speak, you know, because I had a certain level of education, so I didn't have that dialogue, that urban kind of dialogue, and I didn't fit in. And so it was difficult for me, and it's like, so my experience was an experience that I needed to be able to share the kind of experience that I had that I needed to be able to articulate also.
Délé,
The reason why I said yes is because I usually shy away from these types of panels. Oftentimes I hear the conversation surrounding being a black woman in the industry as a pity party. And that isn't the space I've operated in. Yeah, so I'd welcome the opportunity to perhaps maybe find some like minds and also hear the other side of the table.
So now we move to, have you guys, through your many, many years of experiences, have you,
Put your mic up a little bit. Yeah.
have you guys came across perceptions of you, for example, when you walk into a room, when you know, for an audition, or perceptions of you that made you feel not worthy or of less value or not beautiful? Or I can go on and on, but
I haven't had that. I have not had an instance where I didn't do that. But here's what was interesting. I grew up in Harlem. So when I first came out here, there was this thing. They had S training and something called the Impact Group. And in this Impact Group, I had a buddy. And that person, I don't even know how we got on this, that person would call me early in the morning, and I would have to stand in the mirror and say, I'm pretty. So Cheryl had an issue with that, but had nothing to do with the business. So this person would stay on the phone, and I would be crying. I had a hard time recognizing that I was beautiful. And I don't know how many weeks, months that we did this, that I ended up doing that. And if you were to call me today, when my phone rings, it says, hello, beautiful, you got a text message. So I didn't have that in the industry. I think, and I've carried a lot of naivete. Did I say that word right, Charles? Yeah. Yeah, thank you. And so I think that has carried me well a great mile as too, because I didn't have any preconceptions. I just went about putting one foot in front of the other and constantly doing that. And then I have to do with this, okay. And that's how I just keep getting work, getting stuff like that. And when I was talking about being a rank and file, so I've worked a lot, but you're like, who is she? Because we only recognize someone who's been on a series, someone that you've seen all the time. But don't be fooled. It is the tortoise race. Okay, yes, I want to have the retirement acting job. I have a friend who said that. I said, what's a retirement acting job? She said, NCIS. I said, hello. Okay, that show's been on forever. The leads don't do much. It's all the guest stars that do all the sweating and the work and, oh, my husband! You know, they do all the work, right? So they just say, oh, you know, you got a contusion here, whatever, and they go home with the fat check, you know. Meanwhile, we're working 99 jobs to be able to be available for that audition. That's another story. But, so no, I haven't had that experience where I felt too uncomfortable. But I have been told, can you make it a little bit more, you know, put more flavor, more urban, or ghetto, you know. I actually had one person, I was taking one of their classes, and he said, I'm just gonna tell you right straight, they're looking for sass. When you do your thing, they're looking for sass. And I was actually quite grateful that he told me that. I was like, oh, okay, I can give whatever sass I have. But I don't have, like Lavelle, is it Lavelle? I have a master's, I have education, and I learned voice and diction. So when I was in and the projects, my friends told me I was talking white. And I said, I'm talking white? Because I was doing all the exercises. My teacher was African American, and he was my idol. So I mimicked everything he did, the voice and diction teacher. Because this is black guy, James Moody. I was like, that was who I did. And so I did all the exercises. So I didn't know I was talking white. And I had a white guy that was interested in me. I didn't even realize that. He said, you talk so different. And I said, oh, my friends talk like this. It's very interesting. Anyway, I'm talking too much, but go ahead. Yeah, so no, I haven't had that.
Well, when you talk about going back to walking into a room, there was a time that at some point I told myself, no more perm, any of that stuff, and so I cut my hair like Cheryl, and I had my hair short. I mean, we're talking short. I had it for about 10 years, but I remember when I first got the interesting thing is when I cut my hair completely off, a week later, I booked a series, which was interesting. But then after that, when the series was over and I would go into a room, I kept on hearing this thing that you're so earthy. And I was confused because I still don't know what earthy is. So I was like, what does earthy? I mean, is it, I'm new agey, or is it, I couldn't understand what this earthy thing was that, they were telling me I was. With the short hair at that time, I didn't go on auditions where I had a husband. I mean, you had I played, I'm telling you, I was a nurse on every freaking show, with my haircut. And it was always the nurse. I mean, there were good roles, but it was like a nurse.
Because you're earthy.
And I guess because I'm earthy. And, but it was just but again, it was the teacher or, the what do you call it? Those types of specific things. And if I did, play somebody's mother, I was a gang mother. Mm-hmm. So I guess I put that together. Is that what earthy means? Or is it the hair? And I just could not understand, and I still don't understand what that category of the black woman being earthy means.
As far as walking into a room and feeling less than, I remember, may have been 97, 98. I was in New York, and I went to a casting director workshop to meet a commercial agent. And she gave me some copy. I did the copy. And when I was done, she says, wow, you did such a great job with that. And you're beautiful, you have great teeth, your smile, but you're dark. And that can be distracting to the product. I was like, okay. So I went home and I prayed. I said, you know what, Lord? If you want to use me to show this world that this which you made is a good thing, I'm yours. Maybe about a couple of months after that, I booked an international campaign for Dark and Lovely.
Yes.
And when I tell people that story, they do what most people in this room did. But I come from a family of immigrants, growing up with the name-calling African booty scratcher. And names didn't really bother us. I'll say me. Because the focus in my household was, what do you bring to the table? What was your skill? How well were you doing in school? So when this woman said to me, but you're dark, it didn't sit on me the way it would maybe someone else, because my thinking was, what about the skill? But I could do the thing, man. But I understand, aesthetics, beauty is part of the business. And in some ways I understood what she meant, because black is beautiful. But that's the extent of my experience as far as being in a space where someone looked at me and maybe thought I didn't belong. The other side of it for me has been maybe in cases where they're looking for someone African or someone who can do the accent. And I go in and I talk to them and they say, you're not really African enough. And then in some circles, when I'm playing American, there's something different about you. So that's has been my, yeah.
Anybody else?
Well,
The only issue I've had major has been hair. Hair is huge for an African American girl. So my hair was a darker black color. I've always had short hair because my hair doesn't grow long. It's always been short. So I didn't have a problem with it, but I use wigs. So I have all these wigs. I'm looking, so now it looks like the commercials now, they're moving into more straight hair. Okay, so I have some straight hair wigs. And then they always like the curly look. So I've got varying degrees of curly. The curly, a light curl, a soft, gentle curl.
Wavy curl.
If it's comedy, you put on curls.
You play your curl. Okay, see.
Comedy's always curls.
Yeah, so that's been the huge thing. So I started seeing a little bit of gray coming up, and it only sees in the front because all I can see is the front. I only see myself in the mornings when I look in the mirror. After that, I don't know what I look like. It's only you that know what I look like, or the back, right? So and then I realized I'm not going to be one of those people who get surgery or any of that kind of stuff. First of all, I'm in the keloid family, so I sure can't do that. But I started, putting the thing in it was eyeshadow, eye powder, and everything, and I was like, and once I do that, I feel young again. It's very interesting. And then I decided, you know what? I'm going to try the blonde. Because when I went to the hairdresser, she said, oh, my God. I guess she could see all the grays that I didn't see. So we just did this. This is new. And I said, well, I have wigs. And so, case in point, yes, I go up for an audition yesterday. You get the call. It's for a pilot. At 2 o'clock, they want the stuff self-tape at 6. I'm that self-taping thing, the agent should rebel against it. I'm paying for an audition because you have to pay to get someone to coach, not just to coach, but to tape it and to read. I ain't got time to go to your house for you to do it because it's going to take at least 30 minutes or more. And then after you send it, she said, we're looking for a Niecy Nash type. So I have to have the hair. So can you go back? So I drive in traffic home to get the wig and the hair, sending my agent pictures. This look, go back to the guy, put the wig on with the hair. And I don't know what this end of that story is, but hair is a huge issue for an African American girl. It's huge. So keep them.
And Deidrie?
I think the interesting effect or experience that I had was when I got Popeyes, and the community, my community, it was really interesting to. I'm Barbadian. I'm from Barbados. I've moved to the States when I was 10. So we're immigrants, my whole family, we all moved. And so there's a different experience, a different African-American experience. I had to kind of learn what that was when my family moved here. But the backlash that I got was from the African American community. And I recognized, I had the, the CEO of Popeyes and the man who came up, with the campaign and them all calling me to see how I was doing. And I was like, well, if it wasn't this black girl, it would have been another black girl. So I'm not, and I also felt that there's always going to be an issue. Someone will always find an issue with anything that you do. There's always going to be one or two or 10 or 1,000 people out there that are going to have an issue. So the checks were cashed, and we're now looking at 10 years of a very, very successful campaign that I'm very proud of, and I recognize that with all the people who had issues with it, that there were a huge number of people who appreciated seeing my face. And if it wasn't my face, it would have been some other African American face.
They were having issues that you were doing a chicken commercial? Or
Yeah. Yes.
Well, we love chicken.
Yeah, we do.
But not in
Yeah,
public.
you have. If you were to go online right now and look at Popeye's Lady and the 10 years ago when it came out, there were people were in an uproar of, why are they gonna have a black woman? It's like, well, we eat chicken. And we would have had an issue if it was a white man. We would have had an issue if it was, there was always going to have been an issue. But that was the thing that I sort of had to let it sit in me and sort of navigate that and recognize, okay, how do I really feel about this? And I'm like, I don't, there are people who are going to have issues regardless. But that was it.
Because Cheryl, does you mind? This is the story that leads to my hair story. But a long time ago, there was a casting director that I met, and she was, really kind to me. And so there was a movie with Denzel Washington, and she was able to, try to get me in to audition. There was a role to play Denzel Washington's wife, and she came back, and because she called me, and she said that, Joyce, sorry, I tried to, get you into the audition, but the producer said that you don't look like someone who would be married to Denzel.
What does that mean? What does that mean?
Your hair was short at the time?
My hair was not short at that time.
Wow.
And, but that was one of those, and I went, okay, so now I guess now you're saying, instructing the type of women that Denzel should marry, or was it about whatever that I look like was not enticing to white men? But all I know, it was very hurtful because, and then once I saw Denzel Washington's wife, I went,
Exactly. Exactly.
I'm like, well, that look like me.
But
And it was like, wow, this, and I guess it motivated me, to, when I cut my hair and then when I grow my locks, I don't wear wigs at all to an audition. Or, possibly even if it's a period piece, I'll figure it out. But that was one of my things that I went, okay, this is my way of changing the industry, or just like we're making a point, because, whatever that was about the whole Denzel Washington thing, it's like, let me go in and be myself. My short hair, my dreadlocks, and if they like my work, because it's about the work. Yes, it's an industry that's about looks and all those other things, but it's like, let the work lead the way. And if I have to wear a wig, if it's a period piece, fine. If they say, Joyce, I've had, because I was born with the gray hair, and it's like, okay, Joyce, we have to cover the gray. It's like, okay, fine. My mother's not gonna be happy, but, cover the gray. And, but going into the room, I, told myself, my conversation to myself is go in as me with my short hair, with my dreadlocks, or whatever it is that as who I am, as who the core of my being is, and that's how I go into the room.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, for me, as far as an audition, I wanted to say Shay invited me to be here tonight, so I wanted to say thank you for that. And of course, I know you too, but he was the one that talked to me about it, and I was able to rearrange some things and be here, so I'm glad you included me. For me, it's not so much going in the room with the audition and making me feel bad and making me feel not worthy and not enough. That's not the case for me. I love to audition because I feel like an audition is just an opportunity to show my talent. So that's what I go in there to do. Now, once I book the job, I have been at work and I felt not a part of many, many, many times. I recently did a series called Lemony Snicket's, a series of unfortunate events, and we shot that in Vancouver. And working with director Barry Sonnenfeld was amazing. Neil Patrick Harris, amazing in this show. And when I would go to Vancouver, I would experience no racism. And it would start on the airplane. It would start on the airplane. White men would say to me, "Can I help you with your bag?" And I was like, oh, he can see me. Oh, wow, okay. And then when I'm in the hotel, walking down the hallway, families coming toward me, white families, they would say, "Good morning." And I was like, me? Me? They would speak to me. Now, they would be in conversation, but they would speak to me. They would say, "Good afternoon." They would acknowledge me. I'd be in the elevator. Somebody would get in, happen to be white, and they'd say, "Good afternoon." I was like, what? You can see me? Because they can't see me in my country. You get in the elevator or somebody gets in with you, everybody look up or everybody look down, but we definitely ain't going to acknowledge you. That's for sure. So it's just a different thing. And they're very inclusive. Like when the cast is getting ready to do something, they'd say, "Cleo, you want to come along?" That's what I experienced in Vancouver. But here, many times there's not a lot of people who look like you at work. So when they get ready to go do stuff, sometimes they don't say, "Hey, you want to go?" Or "Hey, we're getting ready to go do something. You want to go do?" So that's the thing that's different for me. And I have to say, and I don't mind saying it, I'm like, "Hey, so where y'all going? Where y'all going? Am I included or what's up?" Because I'm all right with that, because they can, I have to, and I'm all right. And they can say yes or no, or we were going to go just the three of us, or they can say whatever they want to, but I'm always okay with saying, "Is it okay if I come along?" Or what time y'all going? Now, when you going to be? So I'm all right with that. But I can tell you in Vancouver, I did not experience any of that. And it's truly a feeling that I would run to, because I loved shooting up there for the 2 years that I did that show.
Oh, you can clap.
Yeah.
It's okay. As we move along, that's surely okay. Now, when we talk about, the browner you are, because that's one of the main purposes that we're here. When we talk about that, can you please expound on any barriers that you've experienced, and how you made your way through, how you got over those barriers?
Well, I'll take this one. Barriers. I can remember I did a movie, and there were tons of people in the movie. And I mean, I can name you 5 megastars that were in this movie. Okay, great. So I won't say everything, because then you'll know who I'm talking about. But I can remember when we had the premiere, it was going to be in New York. The premiere was in New York. And the company who put the movie out, a huge company, huge name. If I said, you'd be like, "Yeah, they do a lot of..." So they called my agent and said, "We really want Cleo King to be at the premiere, the opening in New York City. We're going to give her money for her plane ticket, but she got to put herself up in New York. And I'm like, cool, you know, I've been in New York. I lived there for 10 years. I have a lot of friends. $300 is not going to be my plane ticket, but I'll go. I'll go. So I went to New York. I did the premiere. A lot of names at the premiere. A lot of everybody went. They never, ever gave me the $300.
No.
They never. My agent called them for like 6 months off and on, and they never gave me the $300. And if I said this company to you, you would be like, oh, they just put out that movie. They put out tons of movies. They never gave it to me. Other story, and this is just me, and I can't let that, you know, define who I am or say it's about me. That's their shit. That's not mine. That's theirs. The other thing is, I was in this movie, another big names, and it was, I won't say who was, anyway, it's great names in the movie, but if I say it, you'll know who it is. So I did this movie, right? And I had an incredible role. Like if you YouTube it, come and ask me afterwards, I'll tell you. So if you YouTube me, that performance is everything, honey. It is everything, baby. But it was a feature film. Okay, so when I was ready to go to the premiere, I said to my agent, you know, how many tickets do I get to the premiere? And they said to me, you cannot go to the premiere unless you get someone in the cast to invite you. And I said, well, I'll invite myself because I'm in the cast. So I'm going because I got a fierce performance in this. And they say, no, you have to get one of the celebrities in the cast. And there are at least 7 celebrities in this, I mean, big names. You have to get one of them to invite you to go. And then I was like, this is ridiculous. And then I said, what about the red carpet? Then I'll just do the red carpet. I won't go to the premiere. I won't go inside. They said, you cannot do the red carpet unless you ask one of these celebrities to get you in. Well, I was in a scene with a huge name. So I called him and said, this is what's happening to me. He goes, this is BS. This is BS. And he called them and said, give her 2 tickets to the premiere. And that's how I got it. But this was over a period of 2 weeks that they kept telling me no, and my agent, no. And so those are the things that I have come across. You can't go to the premiere, you can't do the red carpet, you have to be invited, and also we'll give you money to go to the premiere in New York. Oh, we're never gonna send you that money. And I paid to go and stay. So, but you know that's not about you. That's not personal. That's their stuff, and I know that. But I have 10 more stories just like that.
Oh, wow. You know, that reminds me of, I mean, we're, in 2019, or even if that happened 5 years ago or 10 years ago, it just is reminiscent to me of what used to happen in the South in terms of Jim Crow. You know, that the film that would just won Best Picture. Yeah, Green Book. Okay, so it's still going on.
So the only barrier that I find that, and sometimes it, not necessarily now, I haven't had anything in a while, is makeup. Okay, yeah, hello. The shade of makeup for the skin tone. And so the only way I got around that is to I just bring it, and very casually, I said, oh, look, I got some nice colors. You know, let me show you what I have. Just the way so that the makeup artist doesn't get like that. Or I already have the foundation on, you know, because they always don't think you need it or they're putting it too dark. So that's what I did. But when Rihanna came up with her Fenty, I was in bed late one night and I said, what is this? And I was like so excited because it went from albino to chocolate. I thought that was dark chocolate, and it's because of her line being so successful that now you see there's all these other makeup companies have darker shades, you know, like that. But I recently found a color from a black woman who used to be Vera something. She used to be on a soap opera back in the day, and they were selling it at Walgreens on Vine, and they were getting ready to take all these different. They have little boutique models, and Vera something, I found her foundation, so I just supported her, you know. That's where I'm at. So that's how you get over that. You just bring your stuff or have it on. You know what I'm saying? Don't be offended. Just, you know what I mean? Because you're going to be on camera.
But the challenge, I mean, with makeup, but the challenge for me has always been hair. because I very seldom wear wigs, very seldom, and there are times when I go on the set and they're trying to tease it, and I freak because you don't tease, and or I had them. I showed up on the set, so come out of the trailer, show up on the set, and they're getting me ready for the next scene, and she's putting hairspray. And I mean, my hair ain't going in it. It ain't going in. You could blow and blow. It's not going anywhere. But I guess it was a feeling of like, okay, so and how, I don't know how to politely just say, just stay out of my head. Just stay, because they have to feel like they're doing their job.
Right.
So yeah.
It's so funny, when I've been on set and I go into the makeup trailer, I always bring my foundation or have it on. And I always kind of maybe 2 steps ahead of them. Mm-hmm. I have some colors if you want to. If I go to hair, the first thing they do is look at me. I say, you don't have to do much.
You're fine.
You don't have, I tell them, you don't have to do much. Like if you put stuff in it, it won't look like this anymore. I tell them, so they don't feel uncomfortable. I don't know how to actually ask her, what should I do? I got you, because I got me. 2 steps ahead.
Yeah.
Well, Lavelle.
We can also call this panel Tools of Surviving, being a sister gal in the business.
And that leads me to the question I'd like to pose to Lavelle, and that you have, you talk about longevity. Mm-hmm. You have been in this business for, 50 years? And more.
Yes.
I heard 50. But have you seen any changes, or progressions, or?
Yes, I've seen a lot of changes. There's a lot of change, and there's a lot that has remained the same. The change that has come about. There's so many, and I'll call them young people, because compared to me, they're young. But there's so many young people that are creating their own content, and that is so exciting. That is really exciting. In terms of the material that is written, more and more there are opportunities that are being created, but there's not enough opportunities that is being written by the others. When I say the others, the material that is being written by the young people of color, that they're taking their lives in their own hand, and young men and young women, and making the decision, I am going to write my story. I am going to do this. I know my story, and I'm going to take the opportunity to create it. And they are doing that, and that's really exciting. For a long time, we were waiting for other people to tell our stories, and they don't know our stories. Just like they don't know our hair, they don't know our stories. So now we are starting to tell our own stories. And that's really exciting. And more women are starting to tell their stories that they were afraid to tell. And now they are telling them. And that's exciting. Stories that they were ashamed to tell, but stories that need to be told, that's so exciting. And not embarrassed to tell them. They can't be hidden anymore. that's exciting. And I'm so proud to be able to say that I'm witnessing that, you know, to be around to see these women stand up and say, yes, I can. I can do it. And no one can stop me. It's an exciting moment. I'm sorry.
Very, very passionate. And that just leads us to this whole thing about being included, feeling included. Like Cleo was saying, she includes herself.
Yeah.
So
You have to include yourself. You can't wait for somebody to let you in. You can't. You know.
Something that was, Joyce, you made me think of something. It's, I get I was going to talk about the roles that I've done. Nurse, doctor, church lady, customs agent, a mousy, an inmate, office worker, teacher, professional, receptionist, social worker. I am not the wife. They always use a light-skinned girl, a Felicia Rashad, as the wife. And I never really thought about that, you know. And so the dark-skinned girls, you know, they are the ones without the child, the motherless child. And so I guess on some level it's an issue, because in real life I'm single. Swiping left and right. Keeping it 100. So that's an issue. But what for me, I always wanted to make people see, feel things that they didn't know or feel have. I wanted to evoke an emotion in you and enlighten you and make you happy. And so I've been doing that without having been, you know, my only one, well, I had a series regular, but it was the PJs, so it was a voiceover. So there's not that visibility like, oh, I saw you in that, you know. And I was always offended when people said, so what have you done? And the thing is, I have a pension. So, I mean, if you're young here, you may not even think about a pension, but just think about when you get to be, let's say, 70, and you still can act, because that's the beauty of our business. You can act out, look at Cicely Tyson, right? Look at Betty White. But you're not really working at, you know, your 25 side jobs that you're doing, right? So you need to have money that's coming in to pay your rent besides Social Security. So that's what the pension does. And to be able to say you have a pension in SAG, that's huge. Huge. So I really encourage you to take that one line that you get, because when it comes to them giving that pension money or to earning the pension credit, you have to earn $20,000 in the year to get the credit. You have to have X amount of pension credits to be able to be vested, meaning that when you turn 60, well, you can pull early retirement at 55, but when you return to a certain age, that you'll have that money. So that's what I'm talking about, pension for the young people here. And so
Cheryl, of course, that is so important that everybody knows about, you know, what the benefits are of securing work for a long time with, you know, with the SAG-AFTRA contracts, and that you can certainly, you know, have a very wonderful career on many different levels. So thank you for that. I am interested in inclusion. How far have we come?
Well, what Lavelle said, I mean, I think because we're beginning to tell our stories more, to me, I see that, and it is exciting, and I think because of that, the shift that's happening, you know, we're, you know, being included more in the industry, just like we're starting to see ourselves in the different hues and the darker hues. It's like we're, included, because again, the more we tell our stories, the more that we greenlight our own projects, then we're going to be, hopefully, included, in the process. And hopefully, as we're saying, this is the time that our voices are now being heard, and they're asking for our voices to be heard. Because the same thing with, I guess it goes back, when Cleo, she kind of, clicked a story that kind of happened to me in the same way. I was, a regular on a TV show, and I was the only black person in the cast. And when it came time for the publicity or for the junkets, I would see them put the note under everybody's note under the door except mine. And it's like, wow. And I thought I was part of this cast because there's only about 5 of us. But they would I never, ever, went on the radio to promote the show, on TV to promote, they never included me in that.
You have a publicist?
Well, at that point, it wasn't, it was the show that was publicizing it. It wasn't, the publicist, it was the show, because it was a new show, and they were trying to get the show off the road. And so it was not a matter of, having a publicist, because the show itself was doing it.
Yeah.
And so I was never included in that process. And
That happens a lot.
and it happens.
And sometimes you'll get the day off.
Right.
When everybody else is getting ready to go do it, you'll have the day off. And at first you're like, hey, I'm off on Tuesday. Hey, I'm off on. And then you realize, they're doing PR.
Right.
Oh.
Right.
And then you're like, that happens.
That happens. And so, for, at a certain, since it was my first show, it was devastating. It's like, I thought I was here because I had something to say, and I had, was going to add to this and the whole thing. And at a certain point, I just had to let that go. And again, the same thing about the parties. And I just remember, one of the episodes, and I can't, even though it's an old show, but I'm not going to mention it, there was a line that the writers had written, and it was like, my line was, I don't know about heaven, but I'm in hell, right? And so, but they had insisted on me saying, I'm not in heaven, but I'm in hell. And I'm like, wait a second, that sounds like the Borscht. That doesn't sound like something that I would say. And so, but anyway, taping day, studio audience, and I said the line, I don't know about heaven, but I'm in hell. And of course, the audience roared. And, all of a sudden I get this barrage of writers in my face going, it's in hell, in hell. And so I'm like, okay, I'll try that line. It's not coming from an honest place, but I'll try it. So it was like, I'm not in heaven, but I'm in hell. Crickets in the audience. Try it again. I'm just like, I tried it again. And I don't know which one they went with, but all I know is the next week, people were not talking to me. Especially the star. He didn't talk to me for a whole week. The next week of our taping, he did not say a word to me, because I guess I did not say, the line, the way that they wanted me to say it. But when I said it, it got the biggest laugh of the evening.
And what I've learned to do is, no matter what happens, no matter how I'm being treated, no matter who's watching my scenes, no matter who's seeing how funny it is, no matter who's including me and who's not including me. What I've learned to do is to get along with everybody. You know, when you come from the theater, in the theater in New York, everybody is always arguing and fighting backstage. You cuss each other out. You know, people stand in front of you doing your solo. If you get all the reviews, some fool is gonna stand in front of you doing your solo. So when you get off stage, you gotta tell him, what is wrong with you? So then he's not gonna act right. You go to the stage manager said, well, I don't know what to do. And you say, well, can you call the producers? Because he's standing in front of me doing my number. This is my one number I got. I don't have no more. So then you have to cuss him out in front of the whole cast. And then he'll stop. But you got to show out. I'm telling you, you got to show out. And I toured with these people, honey. I did my last theater musical, you know, before I moved to LA, so I know that world. And we cuss each other out on a regular basis in theater in New York. Okay. Now, when I got here, I decided I was done with that. I wanted work to be fun because I love what I do. I mean, I can remember my first TV show was The Cosby Show. Debbie Allen gave me my first job in my life. She said, you stay, and you stay. And it was my first TV show. And that's when you were looking your phone book and you call everybody and you got to pay for the calls. And honey, I spent my whole check calling everybody saying, I'm going to be on TV. I'm going to be on TV. So The Cosby Show. So what I've learned was, okay, get along with everybody. Yes, that was wrong what they did. Yes, you got the day off. You don't know where that day came from. Yes, they're doing PR. Yes, everybody's in the picture but you. Yes, everybody's excited. Everybody in the hall talking about it. And then when you come outside in the hallway, hey. Okay, it's going to happen. It's going to happen, okay? But what I know is get along with everybody. Show up on time, be professional, let them do what they do, and the check don't bounce, okay? And it's not like you can go to your friends when you got the series regular, right? You go to your friend, you got the series regular, you go to your friend and say, girl, guess what they did now? Nobody wants to hear it. You are a series regular. Shut up, talk to the spouse at home, and do what I do. Call my mama in St. Louis and say, Mom, you ain't gonna believe what happened. And she say, well, what happened? And you tell her what happened. I call my mother at least once every 3, 4, 5 years, and I get it all out, honey, and I go right back out there and book another job. And that's what I do. Get along with everybody, be professional, show up, show that talent, that God-given talent you've been given, and don't let nobody make you quit. You tell them who you are. Don't let them people not include you. You include you. You keep showing up. You keep being the light and walk toward the light, You know, and yes, you know, I used to be that person, though, when they show out on me. Oh, that's where we going? Okay. So then I show out on you, and then I say, and from now on, don't speak to me. I ain't got nothing else to say to you, and you definitely ain't got nothing to say to me. Well, I don't live that anymore, you know? And so when they do something that's not right, I say to them, well, this is how I feel about it. I don't think that was quite fair, but you know, I'm gonna let it go. And then I move on, so I speak up for myself. You know, they say what you mean what you say, but you don't have to say it mean. I had to learn that one, y'all, because in St. Louis, the loudest one got the cheese or whatever it is. If you were the loudest one, you were the one that got the prize, honey. So I had to cut all that out. And I'm grateful to say, you know, being on a show that long on Mike and Molly and in syndication, I'm really grateful that I didn't have any enemies on that show. And that took a lot of work for me because, you know, things happen. And it's a great show, but no complaints. I'm so grateful for my career. And I know I can say I showed up and I was on time and I did my job and I was a great person to work with. That's important to me.
Well, Deidrie, you're selling a product, right? You're the spokesperson.
Yes, ma'am.
You are the spokesperson.
Yes.
And I'd like to hear more about that experience in terms of on the other side. Now, we've heard the experience of, you know, how some folks is like, well, you know, why did she get the job? Well, you know, or you know, they shouldn't have a black woman selling chicken, you know, and all that stuff. And of course, we know that's totally fine. But I mean, on the other side of the coin, in terms of inclusion, your producers, your castmates, you know.
I'm the only person of color on the set. For the last 10 years. Actually, no. After the first year, with the first commercial that was shot, and there was a big, outcry, or it wasn't a big outcry, it was just a bunch of people bitching about, not happy with it. They did have a woman who worked for Popeyes, Pat. She was fantastic. They had her on the set. So what I have learned is that I have to speak up when I don't feel like it will be what I'm saying will be received. And I have to come up against someone saying, but I'm not racist. I've never, so I have to navigate that. And I just learned how to navigate that. And it's just by me being respectful and saying, you can do what you need to do. I'm just telling you from my experience and in my perspective, if you don't want to have people coming after Popeyes, you're not gonna say it that way. You're not gonna write it that way. And then I just have to do my job. So, so I leave the responsibility for that on them. Although, I was watching, it was Cat Williams that one of his last shows, and he dogged me out. He said he hated the Popeyes lady, and I'm watching it and laughing and enjoying it, and then my feelings got hurt. And so I watched it again, and I thought, he doesn't know me. He doesn't know who I am. And in being the Popeyes person, I went to an audition. They didn't find me at a mall. They didn't see me walking through the airport. I'm an actor. I showed up. I had the lines down. I auditioned.
I auditioned for it.
Me too.
Did?
Me too.
You did?
I did too. So congratulations.
Congratulations. I thought I did a good job.
Oh, yeah.
I was waiting for my call back.
Yeah. Well, I showed up. The audition was on a Saturday. And that was a surprise because I never get a Saturday audition. Thankfully, I had work the next week. I was going to be on a set for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. They were shooting in Atlanta, where my family is from, on Thursday, Friday. I didn't read something in the thing that said that Wednesday was a travel day, so it looked like I was going to lose it. I had showed up for the audition, and I got a call on the set from my agent saying, okay, so you booked it. At the time, we didn't know that it was going to be we knew that a lot was going to happen. We just didn't know. I didn't know it was going to go, as long as 10 years. And so overnight, my manager, kind of got on the phone with the agent and said, you know what? They're either going to they have to wait. She can't fly out. I'm working on Wednesday, so they're either going to have to hold for her, or they're going to have to, move on, recast it. Right? Well, they held for me. And my husband gave me the best advice. He said, show up, shut up, do the job. He's like, he said, don't apologize anymore. I already apologized. He's like, don't apologize. Just going, I shot 15 spots in 2 days. It was my first time ever using a teleprompter, all of that stuff. So, I've had to fight for myself. So, I'm really proud. And I also recognize that there was a lady who came to me. I was in Atlanta, and her husband was running for sheriff, and she came up to me and she hugged me, and she was crying, and she said, I want to let you know something, that you have a mission. And I didn't know what she was talking about. She said, you know what? She had spent some time in the hospital getting her hip replaced. And she said, and I was laying in that hospital, and every single time you showed up on that screen, You brought joy to my life, and I want to thank you for that. So if it's just that, then I'm doing what I need, I'm doing what God put me here to do. And all of the other stuff, all the people who have issues with it, well, people have issues with everything. And so, I've been able to take care of my family. And I'm also able to work on the outside because nobody knows, and that is my doing, in that the way that I navigated all of that was to be very specific about how I was used, and knowing that, they wanted me to sing, and I was like, no, that's what I own, and I knew that I wasn't going to give that to them, because I knew that if I give that to you, then you're going to own it, and you will use it in whatever way you choose, and it may not be my choosing. So I don't sing, I never sang. I just stood up for myself as best I could. Yeah. Thank you, Charles. So yes, ma'am.
So panelist.
No.
All right. Black Panther. Ooh, we got 5 more minutes, so let's be quick. Okay. Black Panther. Come on. It was such a super, super hit. And in terms of the casting, I looked at Black Panther and said, oh my goodness, I couldn't believe it. It was a sea of chocolate.
There we are.
Sea of chocolate. Sea of I'm like, oh my gosh, okay, we have, for me, it was like we have arrived. And I just like to know your feelings about that, because I think it brought us up a notch. Do you see us now being as more marketable?
Well, I always knew we were marketable. But here's the thing. This is what I love. It made so much money. Yeah. Now, in Hollywood, money speaks, okay?
Right.
But sometimes they'll move that carrot, right? Because when it makes all that money, oh my God, you know what that means. Well, this made, 100 and something billion, I think. And it's like crazy. But then, hey, we're always marketable. I love that movie. I think it's everything. And once again, we just show every time. We show up and show out. My mother said we always have to be, we got to do more, we got to do better, we got to be, so she always pushed us to do the best that we could do.
I'm just mad I wasn't in it.
Me too.
Yeah. So that means that I'm looking at it like this, and you guys, I just want to know your point of view. I'm looking at it as like, okay, now it seems that the door has been is opened more and more and more and more. And like you say, when stuff makes money, then that certainly talks, and it talks really loud. So when we're talking about dark skin folk, Black Panther opening the door, does this signify to you that there will be more work?
I think, you just have to know you're going to work.
Right.
You have to know you're going to work. I don't care what your skin color. I don't care how tall you are. I don't care how short you are. I don't care how long your hair is or how curly. When I left New York, they said to me, you're going to have to lose weight, because in New York, honey, everybody's skinny. So you might be out here singing and dancing full figure, thick with it, but in California, you're not going to work. And I said to myself, yes, I am going to work. I'm going to work. And I think that's the key. No matter what you got, you can still work. You just got to know you're going to work. And you got to believe that with everything in you. I'm a very spiritual person. I know, as the old people say, the Lord didn't bring me this far to leave me.
Thank you.
I'm going to
Amen.
work. That's what I do. I work. So I don't care what my hair doing. I don't care how thick with it. I don't care how, hey, I'm going to work. And I think that's the key. There's been opportunities, better opportunities. I remember watching the TV show Julia. And, she had the son and TV show. And it's not that many people on TV. It's never that many people on TV. Never going to be that. Never going. You're going to get the job and still they're going to ignore you. I'm still going to work.
Okay. But
So
I do think, I'm sorry, I'll get to you. But I kind of think that, for the younger people coming up and that sort of thing, that yes, there will be more viable work because of films like Black Panther, because you have Oprah Winfrey's own network, because, and the casting that happens there and the stories that's been told. Because. So that's what I want. I see it being progressive. I see the inclusion being what we want and need it to be.
Yes, I'll say yes to that. But the thing that made me work, or, work in the way that, in this system, was that I created my own first. That's what made me, put me on, the radar, is that I created this show at freaking Highways. And, for some reason, the woman, she came, and Jan Breslauer, and I did this piece called Game One. It was about the plight of black women. And the next thing I know, I was on the cover on New Year's Day of the LA Times. Because again, I was I wasn't thinking about, oh, I need to do this. I just had something to say. And that's what, put me out there. So as, Cleo said, it's like, I'm gonna work. Because, when things happen, I will put pen to paper and start creating, or, it's like, what do I have to say? And I'll create my own. I mean, that's how I did my documentary film. I had something to say. I wanted to talk about African dance. And so I'm a creative, we're all creative persons, but, beside this industry, I also have things that I want to talk about and things I want to say.
Well, I've been able to continue to work because I've just decided this is who I am, and I have to be my authentic self. And so I've been able to work over these 50-some years because I've been able to bring Lavelle Roby, and Lavelle Roby is uniquely Lavelle Roby. She's not someone else. She's Lavelle Roby, and Lavelle Roby brings Lavelle Roby's unique experience. And one of the things that's unique is Lavelle Roby's the world's greatest smile.
Just in echoing writing your own piece, or everyone has a story, the ordinary is the extraordinary. You watch all the reality TV, that's the ordinary. They're going to have a drink with their girlfriend or whatever. And people are fascinated by it. So whoever you are, your story, when your girlfriend's telling you about this and that, that's the story. We want to hear that. The LA Women's Festival, Theater Festival, has a whole thing of one-woman shows in the month of March. You can go to one of those and you'll find out how you can write your own show. But your story is so unique. What happened to you when you were 3 or 5? What your mother? Yesterday, right. So the ordinary is the extraordinary.
Okay. All right, and to that end, I'd like to thank all of you wonderful, wonderful, beautiful ladies for joining us this evening and imparting with such wisdom, such grace. And I know that our entire audience feels the very same way. Thank you so much.
Thank you.